I have heard a lot about great city of Barcelona in the past. It's probably one of the most famous cities in Europe for architecture, food, cool coastal vibes and tourism. Last winter I decided to visit and live in this city for a month to see what the hype was about. Both Barcelona and Madrid constantly ranking as the most expensive cities in Spain. But I went there thinking that in addition to winter escape, Barcelona can be a very nice place in terms of cheapening my monthly costs compared to the Netherlands. At the end, numbers told me a little bit different story. Okay, let's break down all the expenses that I had in Barcelona living there for a month. At the end of the video, I also touch upon salaries and taxes in the country. Let's start with accommodation. As you probably understand, accommodation is always the biggest expense, no matter where you're living, and especially if you come to some place for just a month. The costs will be even higher. In recent years, Barcelona rent went up quite a bit, and as in many cities around the world, the price is heavily dependent on the area where exactly you live. I quickly checked how much accommodation would cost for a long term in expat-friendly areas like Poblenou, Eixample or Garcia. 70 square meter apartments cost around 15 to 1700 euro. In more touristic areas like El Raval, El Gòtic, Barceloneta, the rent is cheaper and some apartment can be found as cheap as 1000 euro per month. But I'm not sure you want to live in these areas, especially in summer months, because it's extremely crowded with tourists. There are also areas where more rich people live, like Gervasi, for example, and the rent there can go as high as 3000 euro per month. Regarding the short-term rent, if you're coming for less than a month, it can be hard because Barcelona passed a few laws that limiting the short-term rents. This way they're fighting against the over-tourism in their city, and sometimes when I try to search for apartments for like 7 to 14 days, they either very expensive or simply you cannot find anything. Many apartments I've been looking for when I was searching for the place to stay had a limit to stay for at least 30 days. You cannot rent those places for shorter periods. It was a January when I was renting an apartment, and even though it's a low season, I couldn't find anything less than 2000 euro for 30 days stay. So first my wife and I rented such a place for 2000 euro. We got 30 square meters, very small studio apartment. It has a nice building, there's a co-working space inside, and inside the apartment everything was new, but it was just very tiny. When we tried to find something a little bit bigger, it was close to 2500 euro per month. Eventually we changed our plans because my friend, a co-founder, and his girlfriend decided to join, so we found a bigger accommodation and divided the cost by 2. Overall, it was a really nice place. It had 100 square meters, it had 2 bedrooms, huge living room and kitchen combined. We have plenty of space to work. It felt a little bit like an office because they did furnishing the way as you expect in an office, but overall I can't complain. And we rented it for 3400 euro, and of course by dividing by 2, cost from each of us was 1700, which was much better than renting small apartment for 2000. We also had a required deposit, and I discovered it's pretty much mandatory in most of the places. In our case it was 500 euro. It's not a problem, but unfortunately to get it back we waited for a long time. I think it was close to like 45 days to get back a deposit. The host told us that they sent this deposit to the government and they're waiting for the deposit back afterwards. I don't know how it works, to be honest, and I didn't ask additional questions for the host. It was a long process of waiting. We also had some electricity included. I don't think we gone above that amount, but I'm not entirely sure how much was included and how much it would have cost if we go over this limit. I forgot to mention the location. The location was absolutely amazing. It was Pableno district, and it one of the modern complexes. Most of the people living in this building were expats. At least I haven't heard any Spanish. It was mostly English. I noticed that there are a lot of American expats. The building located just 5 minutes from the beach, so literally exiting the building and you're almost on the beach, on one of the best promenade areas with a little bit less tourists compared to close to center. It was super enjoyable. I like to run a lot, so I was just exiting the building and almost immediately running across the sea, and the sun was shining. It was a great location, even for January. But as you imagine, if you coming when the season is a little bit higher, for example, I checked this same apartment for spring and it was already renting out for 4,500 euro, which is a bit insane if you ask me. Yes, it's a big apartment, but it's crazy. But anyway, let's move on. Since Barcelona is a capital of food, I expected my bill to be quite high in that category and kind of made my peace with it in advance. And we were going out a lot. Both things are contributed that it's such a great place, great city to find amazing brunch places or dinner places, coffee shops, stuff like that, but also because we were living together with my friends and kind of going out together is what people do. That's contributed quite a bit into my bill of eating out. At the end, I think we kind of paced ourselves and started cooking at least dinners a little bit more, but I think brunches almost every day. It was through the whole months. So eventually eating out was 60% of the time and 40% of the time cooking dinner, which is pretty huge for us because back at home, back in Zwolle, we cook maybe 95% of the time. So for two people, for me and my wife, we spent 735 euro for eating out. And we spent 348 euro for shopping for groceries, making it a total 1,085 euro for just food. This is a huge bill for us because back home in the Netherlands we usually spend around 400, maybe 500 euro per month, including both groceries and eating out. And considering that Netherlands is just more expensive country than Spain, but it was okay. We were feeling kinda to get to know the city, to get to know its food, so it was nice and it was, I guess, expected. In general, eating out was a little bit cheaper than back in the Netherlands. We found a couple of brunch places where we can get 2 meals plus 2 coffees and it costs 25 euro, which is quite cheap. If you go a little bit more expensive places, maybe it's going to be 30 to 35 euro. In the Netherlands, it would have been maybe 40, 45, I would say, in good places. Even cheap places in Barcelona, they were so great. I don't eat meat, so I cannot comment on that, but anything with the eggs, they doing it really well there. All kinds of shakshukas and omelets and scrambled eggs, stuff like that. And coffee shops, specialty coffee, there's no lack of that. A lot of places serve a great specialty coffee. You can buy beans everywhere. We also surprisingly went to a lot of pizza places, just so many of them, and a lot of people recommended various places. There's like one of the best pizza places in Europe located in Barcelona, and according to some food magazine. And I think margarita pizza, just a basic one, usually costs around 10 euro. And even in the place with the best pizza in Europe, it was maybe 14 to 15 euro per one pizza. The prices weren't that bad, but they of course accumulate if you go out a lot. Next category that I track my expenses for is transportation. Transportation, I would say, quite cheap in Barcelona, at least by my standards, especially if you use any of the long-term cards. For example, you can buy an unlimited metro card that it works only in the subway. and it costs just 23 euro. I think it works only in one zone, but this zone is covering almost the whole city, maybe except the airport. And 23 euro for unlimited card for a month, it's just insanely cheap. Just for comparison, the 10 trips card costs 13 euro, and also one trip costs 2.90. If you're planning to travel around the city for a month, it's just a no-brainer to get an unlimited card, unless you're planning to use a car or a bicycle or something. By the way, about the bicycles, I would say Barcelona is not the best for bike infrastructure. It's kind of a bit chaotic in general, and there are a lot of bikes, I mean motorbikes, in addition to cars, and not many dedicated bike lanes, I would say. In terms of Spanish cities, I noticed they are in general not the best for bike infrastructure, except maybe Valencia. Valencia probably was one of the best I've seen in Spain. In Barcelona, I think it's better to take a metro, especially because subway is everywhere, it works pretty well, the trains coming quite often, so for me it was a no-brainer to use just subway. Also, one more tip: if you're planning to buy tickets in the machines inside the subway, bring the physical credit card, because one time I tried to buy a ticket with Apple Pay, unfortunately it didn't work, so I had to walk from this subway back home because I couldn't use the metro, and you cannot go inside the metro paying with Apple Pay as well. So you need a physical card to actually insert it in the machine, or of course bring your cash. There are of course taxi around the city. I tried checking the prices a couple of times. I don't think it's that expensive, but it also wasn't cheap. It's not like you can expect in some Asian cities or like in Georgia, for example, where we've been just basically using taxi to move around the city. Here, I think from the center to Pablino, it was like 15 minutes drive, and I saw the price goes as high as 20 euro. It's okay, but it's not kind of thing you're gonna use often, especially when the subway is available. I personally had a car, so even if I needed to go to, I don't know, airport to meet someone, for example, I've been using my car. If any of the watching people interested and have electric vehicle, the price for charging was alright-ish. I would say average in Europe it was 0.38 cents per kilowatt hour. At daytime and at night it was around 20 cents, I think. Overall, driving in the city wasn't as pleasant. If you just want to circle around neighborhood, it's fine, but if you want to go to the city, finding parking is nightmare. I'm sure you know all of that if you ever driven in big cities in Europe. It's almost everywhere is like this, so I personally prefer come to the city, just drop my car somewhere in parking, long-term parking, and just enjoy the public transportation or biking or whatever the city has to offer. That's just my way of traveling by car. So together in a month I paid for transportation around 40 euro. I think it was the cost for subway plus whatever cost I have for a car, for paid road around the city, maybe charging my car, stuff like that. And to be fair, I walked a lot. I just like walking. It's how I get to know the city. It's how I absorb its energy. A lot of times I was just walking through the whole city. It's not that big, so you can walk everywhere, but it's gonna take you like the whole day if you do a proper hiking around the city. Next one, I wanted to talk about sports and entertainment. I kind of smashed both of them together, and as it was only 1 month for me, I can't really say that much about long-term costs. So my friend, he signed up for a gym right away, and the gym costs 75 euro per month. On the website, it actually said that you have to pay one-time fee when you're signing up for 50 euro, which wouldn't be great if you're just signing up for a month. But he went there and they, I think, just allow him to sign up just for a month without one-time fee. I personally went to a few yoga classes. I use ClassPass. If you don't know, ClassPass is an application where you sign up, you can buy certain points, and you can spend them on various physical activities. It can be gym or yoga classes or boxing classes, stuff like that. It depends on the city. In some countries and cities it's popular, in some it's not that much, but it was pretty popular in Barcelona, and I signed up for 19 euro, which is kind of like basic subscription. I think they give me 11 credits. Classes in Barcelona were maybe 3 to 4 points. So for 19 euro, I could visit maybe 3 to 4 classes. I also noticed that if you selecting classes in English, they usually a little bit more expensive. If you know Spanish, you can find classes even for 2 credits, so you can visit like 5 of them. But I checked on a few yoga studios on their website. One lesson costs around 15 euro, so it seems like it's much cheaper to use ClassPass compared to like directly signing up on the website. About Spanish classes, by the way, funny story, if you don't know Spanish and you don't want to visit a Spanish class, make sure you see that explicitly said in English. It's usually in that case, your teacher is going to be some kind of expat. I had an expat from Philippines and Australia, for example. And one time I went to a class and didn't say anything, and description was in English, so I thought it's going to be English class. It was actually a great studio, a very big one, and the teacher seemed very involved and articulated in the sense of the class, but unfortunately it was completely in Spanish. So I went there, the class started, I kind of panicked a little bit at first, and then I thought, well, I know yoga, right? I know the positions, so I'm just gonna follow him on the stage and just continue doing that through the class. It was fine. So if you want to try, if you may be learning Spanish, I think it's a good way to practice a little bit. And by the way, I tried the ClassPass for the first time in Barcelona, and it's actually turned out pretty cool. And it works in many places around Europe. You better double check it in advance if it works in your city, but I noticed it works in many cities, at least big cities. If you're curious to try, I can put the link in the description. It's going to be an affiliate link, so you get, I think, 20 points for free if it's your first sign up, and I think I got some points as well, so we kind of help each other. From the entertainment perspective, I honestly didn't do that much. That's why I smashed it into sports as well, because the city itself was entertaining. We went out, we walked around the city a lot. You can hang out on the beach. There's just a lot of stuff happening around the city. For example, on the Chinese New Year, there was a huge carnival taking over the whole city center, and it was nice to just hang out there. It's just always happening something there. This city is so vibrant, and you just walk and you don't know what to expect while you're walking out of your house. It's just fun to be there. The only thing from kind of traditional entertainment is that I went to the cinema to watch Marty Supreme, and in English the movie ticket was €9.50. So that's the only cost I can share with you in the sense of entertainment. So let's talk about totals, how much I spent in a month. If I exclude any my personal costs that are not dependent on being in Barcelona, financial costs, my obligations, recurring costs back in the Netherlands. So only to stay in Barcelona, I spent 1,700 for a house, €1,085 for a food, €40 for transportation, €20 for sport, as I said, for the ClassPass, and €20 for entertainment. This is a cost for 2 people. In total, it's €2,865. It's also excluding the cost of traveling to the city as well. If you want to calculate a long-term staying in Barcelona, for example, you want to move for a year, I would say you can add quite a bit of expenses as well to live in a country, stuff like utilities, insurance, internet. I would say to live there long-term comfortably, you need at least €3,500 to feel pretty good and to have money for everything. But of course, when you're living long-term, maybe you'll be able to find a little bit cheaper accommodation, because accommodation takes a lot of the monthly costs, and depending on how expensive or cheap accommodation you'll find, there are going to be total costs per month for you completely different. But let's actually talk about something else, about salaries in Barcelona. And I should warn you, it's just a research. I just try to do as best as possible to find out and discover salaries online, but it's not any first-hand knowledge, so it's just my research. So I started looking for familiar industry to me, of software engineering. Usually a lot of software engineers in big cities, so it's kind of easy to find information. I also just happens to know websites where you can find salaries for them. According to Glassdoor, Payscale, and even Levels.io, which usually includes very big corporations and high-paying companies, the median software engineer salary is around 45 to 50,000 euro, with very high-paying companies paying 75 to 80,000 euro per year. These are the salaries for just regular people, regular engineers like me. After that, I checked some online calculators. I couldn't find any official government calculator, so it was just random website calculating salary for Spain. So I took this median salary of 50,000 euro per year. With this salary after tax comes down to around 3,000 euro per month. It's not bad, but if you remember that I said to feel comfortably you maybe need 3,500 euro to live in Barcelona, that's going to be pretty tight. And it's a software engineer salary. It's usually considered a high-paying job. Then I checked on average what's the salary is in Barcelona, and it's around 30,000 euro per year. This sum after taxes, at least according to this website, shows that it's around 1,900 euro per month, which is quite tight. Barcelona is quite famously one of the cities where a lot of anti-expat movements exists, right? To be honest, in my experience, there was no issues at all, except a few sprayed expat go home on the walls, especially in the central areas. I didn't get any negativity. Spanish people and expat living there are all awesome. They're all very positive and helpful. So personally, I didn't experience anything, but this exists, right? You know, it's from the news, from the stories. But looking at the numbers that I talked in this video, and both salaries and expenses, I kind of feel like I can understand local people, why are they can be angry. Feel like I understand this negativity and negative stance against expats and tourists in their city. We might agree or disagree on what's good for the cities and what's good for economy of the country. Globalization and gentrification is definitely out of scope of this video, but I think we can try and use a little bit of empathy instead of judgment when we talk about local residents, people who actually grew up in this city and they see a lot of changes. That's the only thing I'm just asking. Thanks for watching.